Let me try this again. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I know it's been a while. Sorry, but I've been doing stuff. So I'm going to try something a little bit different because I feel like I'm always just saying the same thing over and over and over. So I was watching Star Trek, the original, and I was like, hey, I'm going to do my makeup and tell y'all what happens in the episode. I'll do it for a couple episodes. If y'all like it, I'll keep doing it. If not, then I'll figure out something else. And I will throw in a fun fact every now and then. So I'm going to start with the pilot, which is actually the first episode. I've already done my brows and I've already put on my primer, so I ain't got to do all that. So, it first aired September 8th, 1966, which was before I was born, but you know, whatever. And a fun fact, it actually aired in Canada on the 6th before it even aired here. But the first one starts out, and it's not, you know, the famous Captain Kirk. It's Captain Pike. I don't know if any of y'all watch enough to know who that is. He is in later episodes, like way later, but he's not like the main guy on the show like Kirk is. It's not the main captain, but this is before you watch Kirk. So it starts off, right? And you're seeing the bridge and all that good stuff. And they are on a mission to go help people on another planet. And they get basically a distress signal is basically what it is. And they're checking it out. And it's very old. It's like 18 years old. And he's like, we don't even know if they're still there. We got all this stuff to do. And he's like, nah, we're not stopping. He's like, we don't have any proof that they're actually even still there. Or that they need any help or anything like that. And you can tell that he's agitated. You can tell the crew's going, did he really just say that? You know, kind of thing. So he goes back to his little captain's quarters. Sorry, I need a little bit more. And he's sitting there thinking, and the doctor comes in, which this is not going to be Bones, the regular doctor. This is a different doctor. And he's basically telling him, you know, okay, tell me what's going on, blah, 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 blah. So he does, and you know, he's like, I want to know your, Captain Pike's like, I want to know your opinion. And the doctor's like, well, you know, I agree with the captain, kind of thing. So meanwhile, he's in there making noises in his little future doctor kit. And Pike's like, well, that's good to know. I'm glad that my doctor officer approves, kind of thing, of his decision. And the doctor was like, yeah. So Pike sits on his bed or whatever. Doctor walks over, hands him a glass. He got himself a little drink in that glass that he hands to the captain. The captain was like, what in the, you know, why in the world is he handing it? So he drinks it. And he's talking, and, you know, apparently Pike had been on a mission. Some people had died. He was upset about it, understandably. And, you know, he basically tells the doctor, you know, I'm so tired of having to make all these life and death decisions, decide who lives, decide who dies. You know, basically he's done with the pressure. Just the pressure of having to decide what's going to happen to who, and, you know, which I'm glad I don't have that kind of pressure in my life. And the doctor's like, well, you know, basically you can either run and hide and play it safe, or, you know, you can do what you need to do. Oh, excuse me. Well, when it comes back to the bridge, they are receiving information, distress signal, whatever you want to call it, that then people are actually still down there and alive. So of course, Pike's like, okay, we'll go. So they go. A couple of them, including Pike and Spock, which I don't know if y'all know who Spock is, but he's in a crap load of Star Trek, but he is a Vulcan, which the Vulcans are my favorite. They are logical. I love them. Love them, love them. If I could be a character, I would be a Vulcan. Anyways, so they're down there. They're talking. They see all these old men. They're talking about, you know, what happened when the ship wrecked and all that good stuff. And then all of a sudden, this hot little young chick comes out. And of course, you know, captains being captains, because all captains do this in Star Trek. He is, you know, instantly attracted, like I said, because they all do that. And he's checking her out undercover. And they were saying, they're telling him, you know, that she was basically born right when they were landing. So she had lived her whole life there. And he's talking to him, trying to figure out, you know, what's going on, blah, 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 blah. And they're having her talk to him, and she's explaining things, and she doesn't sound, you know, like just a normal girl. She doesn't sound like that. And the guy's trying to explain to Pike, you know, she was born here. She's been raised by a bunch of scientists. You know, she's not going to talk and act like everybody else. Which is fine. I mean, it is what it is, you know. And so Pike's like, oh, okay. And they're trying to explain to him, you know, how they survived that long on the planet. And all that good stuff. So they tell her, take Pike and show her, you know, show him how we've pulled this off, kind of thing, how we've stayed here for so long. And she's all gung-ho. You know, she would have lived with a bunch of old men for the last 18 years, and now she's got, you know, this, you know, hot little captain, which, you know, I don't blame her. I'd have probably been all about it showing him too. So she takes him up this hill. I'm going to say a hill. And she's like, you know, right here, this is how we did it. And he's like, what in the world are you talking about? Because they're just like standing on this hill, there's nothing there, right? And then all of a sudden, the hill opens up, and there's an elevator in the hill. And there are these aliens coming out with like huge brains, right? And it's like, you can like see the veins pulsing in their head and stuff. It's kind of creepy, but you know, whatever. They're aliens, okay. So they get him, right? And of course the rest of the crew that came down with him, they're still over there with all the old people. And all of a sudden, all the old people disappear. And they're like, what? Which I don't blame them, because I'd be like, what, too? And they're like, oh, crap, you know, Captain's gone, blah, 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 blah. So, of course, they try to rush off to find him. And, of course, that doesn't happen, because, you know, he's been checked by an alien. And it's their planet, so they kind of know what they're doing, that process, as far as jacking him goes. And, oh, my nose was itching. So they put him up there, and he kind of like comes to, or whatever you want to call it. And he's in this, basically he's in like a glass cage. The front part of it looks like glass. I'm not going to say it's glass because it's an alien planet. I don't know what it is and they don't tell you. But basically it looks like glass. It's clear. I say hard plastic, but it basically looks like glass. And of course, you know, he tested it out to see if he can get out. That kind of thing, because, you know, that's what captains do. So while he's trying to break out and figure out what in the world is going on, because he has no idea what's going on, of course they didn't want him to know what's going on, so that's why he doesn't know what's going on. So they're sitting there. Aliens come up to the glass. They're standing there just looking at him. He's looking at them. What in the world is going on, kind of thing. Sorry. And, you know, he's trying to talk to him. Why am I here? Why do you have me? You know, the same kind of thing that we would probably all say if we got captured by aliens. And then all of a sudden, he hears in his brain, he hears them talking about him like he's basically a zoo animal, which at this point is essentially what he is. So of course, you know, he's not a very happy camper at this point, because I'm not sure any of us would be happy campers at this point. And then all of a sudden, he is in a completely different place. There's like a big castle in the background. You know, like medieval kind of deal. So he's all like, what? You know, what in the world is going on around here? Okay, so he's sitting there like, what? Kind of thing, because he doesn't know what's going on. He's just suddenly like woke up in a different place, even though he didn't wake up because he wasn't asleep to begin with. So, of course, the people on the ship, you know, the people that were down on the planet go back and, of course, tell everybody, you know, what's going on and how he just disappeared and blah, 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 and the people disappeared, and, you know, they're trying to figure out what the, you know, how are we going to get our captain back, yada, yada, yada. So they're like, okay, let's try to blast in this sucker into the hill. Like, okay, let's try to blast in there. So they bring like this big old blaster gun thingy. You know, they have to set it all up and all that good stuff. So they're setting it up. Oh, which, by the way, the lieutenant, the female lieutenant in this particular episode is also in the series later, but she is Nurse Chapel. She is not a lieutenant. Which is funny to me. But then, when I was being nosy and figuring out who she was and all that stuff, apparently she was married to Gene Roddenberry, who is the, you know, brains behind Star Trek, creator, which I thought was cool because I didn't know that. So she's in charge, you know, she's trying to figure out what's going on. They try to blast it, nothing happens. A couple of times they try it, nothing happens. Then eventually, you know, they're running out of energy and they can't do it anymore. They can't hold the power, kind of thing. So they shut it off. She's like, crap. What am I going to do now? Which, you know, I don't blame her. I mean, I would think it would be kind of complicated to figure out how to just miraculously spring somebody from somewhere. So after they do all that, trying to figure all that out, planet, same situation. But instead of a bunch of people, it's just him and her, right? By the way, when I blend eyeshadow, I do back and forth, windshield wiper, circles. I do it all. I don't do one particular motion. I don't think you need to do one particular motion. You need to get it everywhere, so you need to do every motion. Anyway, so this guy starts attacking them, and he looks like Attila the Hun. That's who he looks like. Like, I think that's what they were going for, because that's exactly what he looks like. So he's trying to attack him. You know, he's got one of those big old spike ball thingies, and he got on the chain. I can't remember what they're called. I know they have a name. I just can't remember the name. Anyway, so he's all swinging those around, and Pike's all like, "This isn't real. I'm not gonna fight you. Blah, 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 blah. It's not real." Well, it may not be real, but it is very real in his mind. So, when he gets hurt, he feels it. So he figures out that he doesn't really have a choice in the matter. He's kind of got to fight back, you know, so he doesn't die. And of course, you have the damsel in distress there. Somebody's got to protect her. So he fights the guy. They get him. Yay, they win the day, right? Sweet. So, all of a sudden, they're back in his little cage. Just, bam, they're there. Talk about whiplash. Anyway, so they're back in his cage, and she's there. The girl is there. She's not still all medievally, but she's there. And he's like, you know, what's going on, blah, 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 blah. You know, trying to find out what's going on. And she's just basically trying to talk him into being okay with what's going on. And he's so not okay with what's going on. So, eventually, she's like, look, you just have to do what they say. Everything will be okay if you do what they say. You know, that kind of thing. Which he, being the captain, is not buying into that. Which I don't blame him. I'm not, you know, I don't think I'd buy into that either. So, he's like, no. Why do they have us here? What's going on? You know, he's not even sure she's real at this point. Which, you know, she eventually talks to him, you know, tells him what's going on, and, you know, that she is real, and all he has to do is play along, and they can live in this dream world, and they can be together forever. Which, you know, I mean, I'm sure there's times in life where people would, like, be totally okay with that, just living in a dream world. Captain Pike is not one of them people. He is not okay with living in a dream world all the time. You know, he has a real life. He doesn't like being captured. He doesn't like being held captive. I mean, would any of us really be okay with that part? So she's still, you know, just everything will be great, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, no, yada, yada, yada. So he starts asking her, you know, what can we do? You know, is there any way for us to get out of here or hurt them? And she's like, no. She's like, but they can punish us, so, you know, we just got to do what we got to do. And since she's talking about them to him, and that's not supposed to happen, so they punish her. And she just starts screaming, like she's literally just sitting there. All of a sudden, she's just like screaming in horrible pain. And, you know, he can't figure out why. There's nothing there. She's just gone cray-cray and screaming. So, of course, he's like, leave her alone, da-da-da-da-da. So they start talking to him, which, you know, with their minds. And eventually they start using their mouths, but most of the time it's just with their mind. And they're like, you know, kind of confused, like, why is he not going along with this? I don't get it, you know, kind of thing. And so he's telling them, you know, this is crap. You can't hold me here, blah, 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 blah. You know, that kind of thing. You know how... No, I shouldn't say that. Just, you know. Okay. Let's just stick with you know and leave it there. So they start punishing him. So he gets to figure out what punishment feels like. And basically, like, this scene switches. Like, he's somewhere else again. And he's basically, like, burning in hell is what's happening. Like, he's on fire. He's just burning, burning, burning. Which would totally suck. I mean, like, totally, that would, like, for real suck. Oh, excuse me. Anyway, so they're like, you know, we just want you to be happy, blah, 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 blah. You know, they want to study him, da-da-da-da-da, whatever. So, eventually, he figures out, like, okay, this is basically in a zoo. I am basically, at this point, in a zoo, and I'm an exhibit. Which there are other cages around that have other creatures, but they don't look like him and the girl. Like, they're not human. They're definitely different. So, he's like, okay, how am I going to get out of this? Because, I mean, he's not going to sit there. That's, captains don't work like that. They just don't. That's just not how they work. Ever. And so he's, you know, trying to figure out how in the world he is going to get out of here. So all of a sudden, pop, he's in another place. He is on Earth. He has a horse there. They're like in a little park in the future, and there's a horse there, and the girl's there, and she's all sitting on a little picnic blanket, and she's trying to have a picnic, and, you know, she's acting like nothing's happened. Like, this is normal for us to just pop in and out of different places. And, of course, he's like, what in the world? He's looking around. You know, he finally sees the horse, and it's his horse. So he knows that they're, you know, messing with his memories and whatnot. Which, of course, ticks him off because, you know, I think that pretty much ticked me off, too. And she's like, hey, da-da-da-da, you know, everything's great, blah, 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 blah. And he's just like, no, it's not okay. Everything is not alright. So basically, they've got them set up in like this, like, we're a happy couple situation kind of thing. And, you know, she's trying to go along with it. And, of course, he ain't having none of that. And she's like, you know, just go along with it, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, no, I won't buy it. You know, and I mean, you can tell, like, at first that he's like, whoa. Because, you know, he, you know, was having problems, you know, didn't want responsibility, blah, 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 blah. You know, and, I mean, really, they are offering him, like, the perfect opportunity to not really have any responsibilities. I don't know if that actually makes sense to anybody but me. But, I mean, basically, they're, like, offering him not to have any responsibilities. But, you know, he knows it's not real. So, it's just not going to happen. It's just not. He's not going to go for that. And, of course, he doesn't. So, of course, they pop, you know, doesn't work. They pop him back out into the cage, blah, 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 blah. and they feed him. Well, they feed him. I say they feed him. Okay. Their nourishment or way of feeding him is basically like a glass. Kind of looks like a, what is things called? We'll just go with it. Looks like champagne glass, like a futuristic champagne glass, and it's full of this blue stuff. And you know, they tell him, you know, it's for nourishment, blah blah blah. And he's like, you know, you can't make me drink it, blah blah blah. And they're all like, you know, you can change it into something else. Like, it doesn't have to look like this. Like, what if you can imagine it, it could be, you know. He gets it there and turn it into a Tbone Stake if he wanted to. You know, which is basically what they're telling him. Like, dude, this can be whatever you want it to be. Doesn't have to be the liquid. Well, of course, he's not going to do that. Because that's just not how he works. So that's not how any captains work. Star Trek captains are very much the same, except Enterprise, which he's like the first captain ever, so they don't have like all the really cool stuff that, you know, the elements have. Like, they don't have transporters and all that stuff. Anyway, so, you know, they open up this little thing against the wall. It's basically like a wall. Okay? And there's like a secret panel, but it's not very secret. And they open it up, and that's where they stick the food in, right? So, of course, he's not, like I said, he's not going to eat it. He's like, you know, he's basically in a zoo. And he's the attraction right now. Well, then, you know, he's like, I'm not doing it, blah, 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 blah. So they do, you know, a couple more, hey, we're going to be in this perfect scene, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so then they cut to this one where he's suddenly somewhere else again. And the chick is there, but she is green. I mean, like, whole body painted green. So, she's doing this, like, erotic dance for him and stuff. And there's, like, people around him and other men, you know. And they're like, why would you not want to live this life forever if you can? Blah, 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 blah. Which, you know, he's, at this point, he's kind of getting tempted. You could tell he's kind of like, that kind of thing. He's really, you know, it's kind of, they kind of get into him. So, he tries to escape and get up and leave. And he goes in, like, you know, a little building that's behind him or whatever. And she follows him there. And, you know, these are supposed to be the green girls. They're supposed to be people that most human males can't resist them. Like, they can't. Well, he gets mad. He starts, you know, throwing his fit. You know, understandable. We knew he was gonna throw a fit, whatever. And so he pops back out, back into the cage in reality. I say reality. The closest reality he's getting to right now, anyway. Well, you go back to the crew. The Enterprise crew. And they are still trying to figure out what in the world is going on. You know, they didn't shot this thing. They done shot all this firepower, and nothing's happened. It's just a hill, but it's still just a hill. Like, why would you not be able to blast it? It's like rock. That doesn't make any sense, right? So they're sitting there trying to figure it out. They're debating more, you know, what they're going to do. And all of a sudden, the lieutenant and another crew member, female, they just disappear. And all of a sudden, they pop. And they're in his cage. I'm going to keep calling it a cage because, that's essentially what it is. All of a sudden, they're in Pike's cage. So Pike's in there, the other chick's in there, and all of a sudden, the lieutenant and this other chick are in there. And the aliens are like, well, you know, we're going to give you a choice of which one can be your Eve kind of thing, so they can, you know, have babies. And so both aliens will have workers. So he's like, okay, this is like an Adam and Eve kind of deal. They're wanting to, you know, make us into slaves, da 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 da. And he's like, you know, none of them. And they're like, they're discussing, the aliens are telling him, you know, well, this female, like they go to the lieutenant and they show her and they're like, this female is very smart, you know, you would have very smart kids, you know, that kind of thing. The other one's very attractive, blah, 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 you know, that kind of thing. And these, you know, they're describing who's good at what, blah, 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 da, 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 da. Well, then he takes a phaser, which is like a gun, but it's not a bullet, it's like energy. He takes one of the phasers from one of the chicks because they carry that just normally. That's what they have. That's what they carry. So he's like, okay, y'all want to play games? Let's play games. So he knows that, you know, they can, you know, control your mind to a degree kind of thing. So he's got the phaser and he's like shooting at the glass. And nothing's happening. You know, that kind of thing. They're like, okay. So, he pretends, like they have that whole discussion, blah, 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 blah. So then he pretends like he's asleep. They're all just hanging out. He's pretending like he's asleep. He ain't asleep. Well, feeding time comes. And they open up the little secret panel that's not a secret panel. And he grabs one of the aliens, which is like, she's like the main alien. I say she, it's actually a he, but I don't know how I want to call it a she. It just looks like a she to me. Anyway, so he like grabs the alien, pulls him through the little thing. You know, he's got that phaser up to him, and he's like, you know, I'm willing to bet money that even if this thing doesn't look like it's working or feel like it's working, that it is working, you know, because they can, you know, they've been controlling him, sending him to different places, making his mind do all kinds of weird things. And he's like, yeah, oh, I'm betting money. He doesn't say that, but that's what he's saying. You know, I'm betting money that if I shoot this, it's gonna kill you. And he's wanting, you know, to trade. You know, let me out, I'm gonna kill you. That's just how it's gonna roll, kind of thing. And then he's like, you know, I bet there is a hole in that glass that I shot with the phaser earlier. Because again, they can control what he sees, what all of them see. So he's like, you know, basically show me and get out of my brain, or I'm gonna kill you. So they switch it where he can see everything, and there's like a big old hole in this like glass thing. We'll go with plastic, whatever. Anyways, there's like this big old hole in it, right? like, they could just walk out of that sucker if they wanted to. They just couldn't see it before. Well, now he can see it. So he's like, okay, we're going to the surface, blah, 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 blah. Because like I said, they were like in the hill. They went in the hill. They went underground, obviously. So he's like, okay, we're going down, blah, 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 whatever. Where did my thing go? Oh, I've lost it. Okay. Alright, so they go to the surface, right? And the lieutenant chick, because, you know, the other two chicks were still in there with them. So the lieutenant chick sees that they blew a hole in that sucker. I mean, like, half the mountain was gone, but the people had made it look like an illusion. And made it look like they hadn't done anything. You know, they were just like, oh. But yeah, they had done some major damage on that sucker. Okay, major damage. And, you know, the people had just hidden it from them, so they couldn't tell. But yeah, they had done some damage. And he's like, you know, we're getting out of here, blah, 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 blah. Once the communicators, which if y'all have never watched the communicators, they're like these little boxes. When I say boxes, they're like little squares, triangles, whatever. Rectangles, all that good stuff. And you flip it open, and you can, like, talk to the ship and other people on the ship and stuff like that. Not like, you know, anybody know universe kind of thing. And he's like, okay, you know, we're out. We're coming out there. And all of a sudden the aliens are like, you know, we didn't know that your species didn't like to be captured and that you didn't like to be caged and da-da-da-da. Which, I mean, who would have... I don't understand why aliens would assume that people want to be captured. I mean, that didn't really make any sense to me. But, you know, I mean, I didn't write it. So, you know, what do I know? Kind of thing. So they're all apologizing, you know, that kind of thing. And, of course, you know, he wants the girls taken back up to the ship. And the one that was not part of his crew, the young girl, you know, she's like, you know, no, I don't want to go, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, why? And, you know, she's just like, I don't want to go, da, 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 da. So he sends the lieutenant and the other chick back to the ship, and the aliens change the girl to what she actually looks like, and it's her, like, it's her face and stuff, but she is so messed, like, physically she is so messed up. She's got, like, a big, huge hump, like, on, like, the side, like, one side of her head, like, her shoulder is just, like, huge, and her head is, like, all sideways and twisted, and, you know, I mean, you can just tell she is messed up. And she tells him, you know, when we crashed here, because she really did crash there, when we crashed here, they'd never seen a human before. So they didn't know how to put her back together right. So she was deformed. You know, she said everything works, which was, you know, how they were going to be making a baby to, you know, be slaves and stuff. Everything worked. It was just I mean, she was just, you know, you could just tell, like I said, she was like way disfigured. And, you know, it's not like they were trying to make her disfigured or like be mean about it. They just literally didn't know, you know, they didn't know what they were doing. They'd never seen a human, even though, okay, here's my only problem with this, okay? The aliens are basically humans with huge brains. That's, I mean, they have legs and arms, and so I'm not really sure how they were that off base, because, you know, I mean, they weren't too off base about themselves, and it was like, I mean, was she like so scattered apart that they like, you know, didn't realize she was supposed to look like them? Or, I mean, I don't know. It was just like, how do you, I'm not quite sure how you make that big of a mess up from something that literally looks like you. Like, okay. Sorry, I just never got that. I'm like, what? That doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't get that. And, you know, so of course she doesn't, you know, the chick doesn't want to go. And, I mean, I can, you know, totally get that. She's, you know, everybody, you know, who knows how people would look at her. I mean, not that, like, he would let that be okay or anything, but he ain't gonna be around for the rest of her life. So, you know, she doesn't want to go back, and, you know, he gets it. He sees why, you know, she doesn't want to go back. So, you know, he's not going to force the issue, and, you know, she wants to stay there. And the aliens are like, you know, we'll take care of her, you know, we'll give her back, you know, her perfect, you know, her regular body, you know, keep her illusion that she, you know, looks normal. So he's like, okay, you know, he's cool with that. So he goes ahead and goes back up to the ship. And the lieutenant and the other girl, I can't remember her name, don't give me a line. They're like, you know, where is she at? And he's like, she wanted to stay, and I agree with the reasons. You know, he doesn't tell them, you know, that she's, you know, deformed and all that. He doesn't tell them any of that, so they're just like, oh, okay. Not quite sure what's going on there, but alright. Which, you know, that ain't their business anyway, really. Okay, I'm debating whether to eyeline or not to eyeline. I think I'm not gonna eyeline. Sorry, it's still going to. So he goes back up to the ship, you know, tells them that the chick's not coming or whatever. Hold on, I got spray. Hold on. So they go back, they're back on the ship. He goes back to the bridge, and it cuts to the other girl that was up there with him. And she's like, well, who would you have picked to be, you know, your Eve? And the lieutenant chick's like, I can't remember her name, but whatever her name is, or I think she's like an ensign or whatever, you know, she's like, basically like, hey, like, you know, you don't ask him that kind of thing, or whatever. So the doctor's up there, and he leans over, and he's like, Eve? Like, I got you figured out. I got what was going on, kind of thing down there. And of course the captain's just like, yeah, we're not going there. So they don't go there. And that is how the episode ends. Hold on, I got a curl. So that's how the episode ends or whatever. But I mean, I love this show. I will be completely upfront and honest. Anything sci-fi, I'm pretty much into that and okay with that. Now, I know you have the whole, or everybody has the whole, Star Wars is better than Star Trek, blah, 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 blah. I like them both. And you know, I know some people that's like a bit controversial. Not with me, I like them both. That's all there is to it. I would watch them both. Okay, we got to dry this for a hot minute. Oh, okay, so everything that I am using, I know I haven't been sitting here telling y'all what it is, but I will put it in everything in the description box, so you know what I'm using, and all that good stuff. I mean, I basically use the same things a lot, over and over, which I kind of feel bad about. That's why I was like, I need to be able to talk about something else, or, you know, do something else, because, you know, I don't have, like, a new mascara every week, or, you know, a new blush, or a new this, or a new that. Now, I do have a bunch of eyeshadow palettes. I do have a bunch of brushes. I have a brush problem. I seriously do. I mean, even I can admit it. Like, I have a serious brush problem. I mean, I have, like, over 100 makeup brushes. I have a problem. But, you know, of all the problems to have, that's not really that bad of one, you know. It could be worse, is all I'm saying. It could be worse. So tell me this. I mean, would y'all like me to make another one with, like, I mean, I don't watch enough movies, which I used to be like a big movie person, but I'm not really a big movie person now. But I don't really watch enough movies to, you know, be able to make enough videos that have something new every time. Because I don't watch that many movies. I watch shows. I watch more TV shows because it doesn't take as, you know, long to watch them. It takes 30, 45 minutes compared to, you know, 2 hours. And 2 hours at one time for me to, like, not be interrupted. Please. That ain't gonna happen. But, I mean, if y'all are interested... Ooh, this stuff smells good. I mean, if y'all are interested and want me to do more, like, let me know. I mean, I'm going to do a couple just to see how it goes. Well, I mean, totally let me know. You know, what do you think? Your thoughts on it? You know, did you enjoy? Did you not enjoy? That kind of thing. But I am done for the day. This is it. This is the look. Love it or hate it. I mean, I want you to love it, but if you hate it, it's okay. You know, everybody's entitled to their opinions. So I want y'all to have a good day, evening, night, morning, whatever time it is that you're watching this. That kind of thing. And remember, makeup or not, you're beautiful.